Hey there, Go community. This week we're discussing games that grabbed your attention from the very beginning and sold us on playing them right away. In news, Nintendo had an Indie Direct with lots of new games to discuss, and it looks like we could be getting remasters of 3 classic GTA games. New games discussed include a couple narrative adventures Alyssa checked out called Bustafellows and Necrobarista Final Pour, and also I checked out a super charming indie game called Space Scavenger. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 359 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, August 16th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends, Mr. Zack Parkerson. What's up, my friend?
Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well, man. Also joining us, Miss Alyssa White. How are you doing, Alyssa?
I'm doing pretty good, Scott. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I am very stoked to talk to you guys about video games once again, and let's jump right into it. Zack, I know that you've been playing 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. You talked about it a little bit this week. How has that been going, catching up on it this week?
You know, frustratingly, they pronounce it Aegis, even though it clearly looks like Aegis.
Aegis.
I know,
okay.
That looks like Aegis.
It does.
Aegis.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like
I was this close to buying it, by the way. It was on sale on PSN this week, and I was really close.
I mean, this game has taken over my life entirely.
Really?
I'm behind on comics and TV shows, everything. It's 13 Sentinels any free minute I have.
Wow.
Guys, it's really good. You know, I mean, I said it last week. I've gotten way more into the like real-time strategy tactics thing side of the game. That's starting to get compelling. It's an S rank or bust for me. Like anything less than an S rank, I have to redo it immediately. I refuse to move on.
Kind of like me in 3 stars in any other game like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah. But just, yeah, man, the story just keeps on going, and characters who seem like, oh, is she really that important? You play her version, like, oh yeah, everybody's essential. Everybody has huge character developments. Every narrative beat builds on the overall story slowly over time. It's a masterful interactive storytelling.
Man, this sounds like what I wanted Octopath Traveler to be.
Okay. Yeah, that was my hang up with Octopath Traveler, is that it wasn't 8 intertwined stories, right? It was like 8 people had their story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they never like really converge except for if they were in your same party.
Right. These are, you'll see events from different perspectives, or, you know, a character who like you might like overhear part of their conversation because everybody goes to the same, you know, high school in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
You might overhear part of their conversation, but then like you play as them and now, oh, that conversation is way more important than you thought it was, you know? It's good stuff, man.
I am really intrigued.
Me too.
You're like this close to making me pull the trigger on that just to see what you're talking about, but it's just gonna be a busy month. It's not the right time to start 13 Sentinels. Yeah,
it barely feels like the right time to try to finish it with the week we're about to have.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, speaking of, let's go ahead and jump right into this week's news. First off, some trailers that dropped this past week. We got a game called Tales of Iron, which I highly recommend you checking out the trailer for this because it looks bizarre in all the best ways. It comes to PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch on PC September 17th. A game called Plunder Panic, which hits Steam on the 17th of September and console on the first quarter of 2022. It looks very much like a Killer Queen Black wannabe in a good way. And then Shin Megami Tensei 5 Bethel, which will be released on November 11th.
I'm going to give you a quick addendum. Bethel is just the name of like the world. It was a Bethel trailer.
Oh.
Which is like the name of the world. It's just called Shin Megami Tensei 5. And it is a Nintendo Switch exclusive coming November 11th.
Thank you for that clarification. On top of that, we heard this week that we could be getting some remasters of the original GTA. Well, not original, but the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, you know, and Grand Theft Auto 3.
You say original Grand Theft Auto, I think most people go to 3 in their head.
Right. But
yeah.
There is Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto 2 on the original PlayStation.
And Grand Theft Auto London, 1969.
True. So gotta clarify there. Also, Nintendo had its Indie World Direct this week that streamed on the 11th. And Remedy has More Than Control 2 in the works, so some interesting things going on over there. Also, sadly, we lost a voice actress this week, a Brazilian voice actress who was unfortunately murdered down in Brazil this past week. And lastly, there's a whole lot of controversy circling around this. What's the game called? Boyfriend Dungeon?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
That's a
which
bunch of. Do we really got to bring that up here?
It's worth mentioning because everybody is talking about it. So we don't have to talk about it, but it happened this week. So, Alyssa, let's start with you. What out of these stories intrigues you the most?
I would say probably the Remedy news because I love that studio and Control was one of my favorite games. It came out in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
The years are just blurring together now, by the way.
They are. It unfairly beat Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as our game of the year.
I did like Fallen Order better. I will say that. I agree with this, Zach. Okay.
I like Alyssa. She keeps moving up on my favorite gaming outsider members here.
How low was I?
I don't know. Probably just. No, I can't. Well, I can't reveal the list now.
Yeah.
Everybody's number one.
Let's hear it, Zach. It's like, who's your favorite child?
There's no list anymore now that I'm deleting it. All right. No list.
But it's you, Alyssa. You're number one. It's okay.
Obviously. Yep.
I feel like Scott should be number one, but
no. I'm way down the bottom on Zach's list, trust me.
What are there like? There's like 13, so he's probably like 14.
Yeah. Exactly. In all seriousness, though, Control has 10 million players officially. Which weren't we talking about how this game just didn't perform well when it sold? I know it came out on was it Xbox Game Pass?
I think it was Xbox and PC. It was a timed exclusive, and then it jumped to PlayStation.
I think it was on Game Pass, right? For a time.
It was. That's how I played it.
Yeah.
So that's why I would really love to know what these numbers really mean.
Right.
How many copies were sold?
It's had 10 million players, but how many of those people purchased a copy, and how many of those players finished the story or played halfway through it even?
But also, wasn't it a PS Plus game 1 month?
Possibly. Like you, the months and years and days are running together for me, Alyssa, so it's hard for me to say for sure. But yeah, I'm glad to see that Control 2 is coming. They're getting a bigger budget. But what's really interesting to me is they're working on a new title with Epic Games, and we don't know anything about it, except that it's in full production and it will be a AAA title. And the team has been bumped up to 300 employees. So I know Zach's a big fan of Remedy for more reasons than just Control, but just to see that they're coming up with something hopefully brand new.
I want Alan Wake 2.
Is that what we're thinking it might be? Just an Alan Wake 2?
Honestly, don't know.
That seems like the logical step to me, but I would rather see something fresh. So what about you, Zach? What do you think? Alan Wake 2, new IP, where you land?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of them building out this Alan Wake Control universe. I think Alan Wake 2, at this point, sorry, Alyssa, has become a bit of a pipe dream.
I feel that way too, honestly. I just really want it to happen.
I would love for it to. That's definitely like my runner up. The only Remedy game I love more is Max Payne 2, right? Like Alan Wake is right underneath that. Just a tremendous game, and I would love to see
a
more
remaster of the first 2 Max Payne games. How about that?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I think based on Control's DLC, you will definitely see more of Alan Wake. I just don't think it will be an Alan Wake game. I would love to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so would I.
Yeah, but I mean, Control 2 is obviously a safe bet because 10 million players have played it, whatever the hell that means.
Mm-hmm.
And they're obviously, it's certainly a critical darling, right? Like,
oh yeah,
you get the marketing buzz off of the critics going crazy for it. But I kind of hope it's a new IP set in the same like Remedy game universe. I don't know what you would call it.
Almost like what Stephen King does with the tower, the Dark Tower.
Yeah. Almost.
Where everything kind of like branches off.
All their stories could be altered world events,
Mm-hmm.
And Control could be the nexus upon which they all come together.
Yeah. I've played Alan Wake and I've beat it, but I played it the week it came out. And if you remember, the week Alan Wake came out, Red Dead Redemption came out.
Correct.
And Super Mario Galaxy 2 came out that same week. So like I rushed through Alan Wake. I really enjoyed it, but I was in such a hurry to get to the other two games that, like you play a game and beat it in less than a week, you're not going to remember specific details. I almost want to go back and revisit that game at this point.
Right. I mean, I probably played Alan Wake like 10 times.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, so I got a pretty good idea of what happened.
Yeah, I don't. So
I remember Barry put on Christmas lights, and that was freaking hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that.
Ward off the darkness.
Yeah.
An iconic moment.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Control 2, I think we're all three stoked for that, I would imagine. Yes?
Yeah, I'd definitely like to get back in the universe, yeah.
I would like for it to, this is not something that usually bothers me, but I would like for it to run a little bit better.
Okay.
It just had a lot of frame rate problems.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's okay.
What are they going to do, though? Are they going to have to pull a Metroid and, like, strip her of all of her powers and make you, like, re-earn them?
I don't know. You could do an Arkham City where you have most of the stuff still.
And just, like, build on it?
And try to, that's a more challenging game design thing, I would think. The bigger challenge of your team is, can we do a sequel where you're already all powered up? Or maybe, take away some. Maybe she's been at the desk too long, so she can't levitate or something. She just kind of like is rusty at it.
That was part of the charm of the first game, was like when you got those powers, it just felt awesome.
Right. So what will they cook up next?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe they can bring in the Quantum Break characters. They're so beloved. They're not.
I liked Quantum Break up until the final boss.
I love Quantum Break.
I liked it too.
But it is undoubtedly the black sheep of the Remedy catalog.
Yeah, no one talks about it, and they're just like, meh.
They talked about it up to release. It was like talked about like crazy, and I played it and I enjoyed it. It was kind of fun getting to those like 20-minute like episodes and just setting the controller down and watching for a while.
Yeah.
I really dug that. And then you go in and you're actually playing like these digital versions of the characters from these actors.
I was gonna say, like, and they like build up this right, like the TV show segments were building up the villain who would eventually like learn about his motivations about like protecting his pregnant wife and stuff, and then eventually you have to fight him as a video game character. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. I wish they'd do more of that, honestly.
There's a lot of Lance Reddick in that game.
It had a great cast.
Aidan Gillen.
Yeah, Aidan Gillen, yeah.
And
Sean Ashmore.
Ashmore, yeah.
Sure, he was there too.
Yeah, just the main character. I mean,
yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, he didn't stand out as much.
No, Aidan Gillen for me stood out even more than Lance Reddick, honestly. I don't know, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, so.
Right.
Littlefinger.
I liked Beth. Who apparently is not. She was the female lead. To the same actress as Jessie in Control, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Well,
she had a really tragic death. Nothing. Not ringing a.
I don't remember that at all.
She was like killed. She got stuck in the past. Anyway, it's all right.
Now I got to replay that game too. Great.
Yeah. What the hell?
My backlog is going to be filled with not only games that I haven't finished, but games that I want to replay again.
Right.
So.
Do a little Alan or a little Remedy playthrough.
That'd be good. Oh, that'd be a fun Patreon thing, wouldn't it? Just like
let's
pick a developer and go through their catalog.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
That's an idea. Let's put a pin on that, Zach.
All right.
Which of these stories sticks out to you?
I guess you know what? I mean, the GTA trilogy. Sure. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Getting remastered, using new and old graphics. Again, another thing that just means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think.
What does that mean? You can toggle back and forth? Is that what that means?
I don't think so, because they said they're not remakes. They're like touched up.
Right.
I think they're going the version upgrade route, as it were. It's interesting to me because the games are already all available on PS4, but people were acting with this news like, "Oh, finally, I can play them on PS4." But you can with trophies,
right?
So I don't know why people are losing their collective minds over it. But I think it's cool because it paves the way for other potential Rockstar remasters.
Like,
come on, Bully.
Yeah, so get a touched up version of Bully. Wouldn't that be cool?
I love that game.
Again, already available on PS2 with trophies, but it's just not. I want that game. That game demands to be touched up.
I have that one on Xbox, and I've still never even fired it up. It was like on sale for $5. I'm like, I want to play this game, and I never even booted it up.
Oh, it's so fun.
I forgot they did a 360 version of Bully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's where I played it on.
Oh, man, I was slumming it on PS2, I guess. Let's bring the Manhunt games forward.
Oh yeah, Manhunt.
Table tennis.
There you go. Unsung classic table tennis.
Super easy achievements, I've heard.
I mean, it's a good. That was a fun. That's what you want out of a launch game.
Table tennis.
It's like a nice, relaxing. Dude, check out these graphics. It's one of those games that everybody weirdly owned because it was on sale almost immediately for $20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good memories for table tennis.
Fun fact about Grand Theft Auto, I didn't play him until 4. I barely touched 4, and then I beat 5. I've literally never played 3, Vice City, or San Andreas.
I've got a story. I've only ever played 5 all the way through. Never touched 4. But as kids, I would always have sleepovers with my cousin, and me and her would play, I think it was San Andreas. We only played it to steal people's cars, and then we would crash them, and then we'd go steal some other person's car. That's all we did.
That sounds like a good sleepover.
I mean, I guess I'm the only person in the room who's beaten all of them.
Yeah.
I realized that was so rare.
I thought I was going to be the weird one, so... You and me, Alyssa.
Yay!
Grand Theft Auto 4 is my favorite one.
I got so frustrated just doing mundane stuff. Like now as an adult, I kind of appreciate that. I'm like, that's really cool. But
well, the frustrating part about that is that's all anybody remembers about Grand Theft Auto 4, but you also don't have to do that stuff.
Right, but like they don't really give you any direction other than like you should go on a date. Like that's what like pops up on your things to do first is like go take this girl bowling. And as a checklist person, I like to go from top to bottom.
Well, I can see how that's a problem, but otherwise it's just the standard mission structure of an open world game. But I understand you had to go bowling every time Roman called, or else you would die.
Bowling or death.
So yeah, I wouldn't want to spend a ton of time talking about remasters because I feel like we have a remaster or remake that's announced every week. Like we should just have like a remaster remake corner. At this point, like what was announced this week, but for someone like me that's never played them, I'd rather play an up-res version than go by the previous port version of it. But anyway,
they are up-res sets on the PS2 one, and they're not.
Are they?
I mean, they're not. They're not going to trick you into thinking they're modern,
right?
But they look clean. I don't know the Vice City. I played a lot of the Vice City one actually. And that game held up.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the Indie World Direct. I didn't get a chance to watch it live, but some of the things stood out there for me. First off, Loop Hero, which is a game I played on PC, is coming to Switch.
As soon as I saw that game, I'm like, that's a Scott game.
It is a Scott game, but we say this about a lot of titles. That is such a great game on Switch. That's just like you could pick up and play around and put it down. I just think that's great. Boyfriend Dungeon, which we mentioned a little bit when I was announcing the news. The reason that game stuck out to me outside of the controversy is Zach, you played it at E3. I remember at one of the indie booths, didn't you?
Yeah, I think E3 2019.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
And I remember you talking about it on the show, and I was like, that sounds like the most bizarre thing ever. But it was a clever idea. I never expected there to be this stupid controversy surrounding it.
I know, it sounds like an Alyssa game. You get to romance your weapons.
Yeah, and it's a fun hook, and yeah, I mean, the demo I had was really fun. Yeah. Really cute.
Also, Axiom Verge 2 was not only announced, but dropped. Like, you could buy it that day, so that was cool.
To middling reception, it seems like.
It seems like it's pretty mixed. Like, some people wanted more of the previous game, and some people are okay that they did something a little bit different, so... I never finished the first one, so I can't really speak to it, but...
I mean, that guy is a millionaire 30 times over, so I'm sure he just can do whatever he wants.
But I mean, it's impressive that he does everything by himself, right? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, literally everything. Not like where, this is one developer, and we had someone do the music, and someone do this and that. No, this guy did everything in this game. Just nuts.
Good on him, man. If I had made Axiom Verge and it was that level of a hit, I would have just retired.
Right?
I would have just gone out on top, man.
Exactly. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, though. You know I love me some Shovel Knight and I love me some puzzle games. That game looks like a ton of fun to me. It's coming to Switch, PS4, and Steam this winter. I don't know. It reminds me of Wario's Woods a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever played that one back on NES or Super Nintendo.
No.
I never played those consoles.
I think we're too young for Wario's Woods.
Oh my goodness. Did you just say you've never played an NES or Super Nintendo?
I have not. My uncle just strictly started me out on PlayStation 1, and no one else had an NES or SNES, so I just skipped them.
Well, surely you've played NES and SNES games, though, right?
No.
You know, Super Mario World?
You never played Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World? Or
No. No.
Mega Man?
Oh.
No.
Alyssa, guess what we're doing the first time we all hang out together?
I thought you were about to say we're demoting you.
Right, you're out of here.
No. We're gonna have a good old fashioned like sleepover, and we're gonna stay up late drinking Mountain Dew and playing
order
Nintendo
pizza?
and Super Nintendo. Order
That
pizza.
sounds amazing.
Pop rocks.
Some stuffed crust pizza?
Oh my god! And pixie sticks. Remember those?
Yes, I do remember those.
Okay.
I do, but I don't remember enjoying them.
I love pixie sticks.
Oh,
it's
I love
it's
them
just
too.
flavored sugar.
What?
Yeah.
Those are the candy you put up with in your Halloween bag, I thought.
No, I
those were
freaking love
those
pixie sticks.
orange and black ones, whatever they were called. You're just like, I got these.
I
Were
don't
they,
know what the hell
were
you're
they the
talking-
Mary Janes? I think that was what they were called.
I don't know what
what?
Mary Janes are.
Mary
Yeah,
Jane's is something else.
I know that, but
Yeah.
they're seriously candy that I would get every year as a kid at Halloween. And I'm like, ooh, the Mary Janes, ooh.
No. If I was a kid who got Mary Jane's, I would be thrilled because it had any kind of relation to
Maybe
Spider-Man at all.
maybe it was a Southern candy. I don't know.
Yeah, all
People
right.
here are just like, hey, have some of these nasty candies.
No, but seriously, we are going to like educate you on some retro games, Alyssa. In fact, we need to do some break the seals with you.
Okay.
We're gonna get you in touch with some old school games. 'Cause
You haven't
holy
played
cow.
Chrono Trigger?
No.
Listen, I'm pretty sure you would love Chrono Trigger.
I've heard so many amazing things about it. I just
Yeah.
haven't played it.
Earthbound?
I played part of
There we go.
Earthbound 3. Or was it 2?
Mother
No.
3?
Yeah, Mother 3. Sorry, guys. Everyone's murdering me hearing this now. the one that was really popular.
I think that was Earthbound. Mother 2, right?
Yeah, it was technically Mother 2.
Okay, yeah.
It came to America as Earthbound.
I played a little bit of Earthbound, but it was on my friend's laptop and it was emulated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't played the like authentic version of it. Or
So you've never even like held a Nintendo controller or a Super Nintendo controller in your hand? An actual
I have
one?
not. Nope.
Oh my goodness, I am so old. You probably don't even know what an Atari joystick looks like, do you?
I know what it looks like. Actually,
okay.
I have touched an Atari joystick because my uncle had bought one from a. He bought one. I know it sounded really bad, didn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about. Zach gave you a funny look, and I was just reacting to
I
that.
saw the look Zach gave me. I'm like, oh no, he took it. He took it the wrong way.
I don't know. I was just thinking about E.T. on Atari, which is such a funny game to think about. That's what I was doing.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Anyway, the rest of this Nindy Direct, we're just totally embarrassing her now at this point. Tetris Effect Connected is coming to Switch, which to me is a no-brainer. And Eastward looks like an interesting game. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, it has that Chrono Trigger vibe in terms of its art aesthetic.
I was just saying an Earthbound vibe to me.
Earthbound, okay, yeah.
Which,
Speaking
by
of-
the way, is a better name than Mother. Just throwing it out there.
How is it called Mother? Like I don't like you meet your mother. Like your mother wakes you up in the beginning of the game, and then that's it.
Isn't the final dungeon shaped like a uterus in Earthbound? You kind of got an alien baby.
I don't remember that. I remember you have to pray to beat the final boss. That was a big
What a
deal.
weird game.
It was a weird game.
Anyway,
The first town is like one. Like the first town has a 1 in it. The second town has a 2 in it. The Tucson, Threed,
I gotta
Onet.
play
I
this.
think it was the first game. Was the first.
this
city.
is like an amazing localization, actually.
You've never played it?
I played about 15 minutes of it on an emulated device.
Okay, we need an Earthbound
Break
remake,
the seal, apparently.
remaster.
I don't think that game needs to be remade, honestly.
Oh yeah, no remakes, just remaster it.
Is it on Switch?
It's not.
No.
That's people. That's why we were talking about that. Remember when they announced those like weird, wacky ass games that were coming to Nintendo Online?
What
and
are these games?
Where's Earthbound?
Anyway, we're way off the reservation now.
Yeah,
but Far Changing Tides, I'm excited for that.
Me too.
That out there.
I loved Far Lone Sales.
Yeah, I played it off of Alyssa's recommendation. In fact, and
what game?
Far Lone Sales.
I don't know what that is. Did I even put it on the list?
Well, you have Far Changing Tides, the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's like it's like Limbo, but with a weird sand sailboat.
Okay.
It's very charming.
It's very charming. But it is like one of those puzzle platformers. It's just, you really can take in the scenery, and it's a lot of fun trying to keep your little sand engine chugging along because you have to pick up fuel for it, but you have to kind of solve puzzles to do that.
Oh, okay.
And then you get to top speed and you feel really good, and then you hit a rock and then you feel less good. Yeah, that's a real good game.
It is.
All right. I just want to briefly mention before we move on, because I guess we're gonna skip the boyfriend dungeon conversation. But
yeah, I do want to give a shout out to Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is just looking better and better, and it looks freaking sick. And
yeah,
I don't often pre-order games, but I have this game pre-ordered, so I get the Switch Steelbook. This game looks amazing.
I want to give a shout out to the other one on that same list, Plunder Panic, which is like 5-on-5, like a 2D screen, kind of like Killer Queen Black, but you're all pirates, like trying to plunder treasure and bring it back.
I was gonna say, are you pirates? Because that makes me think of pirates.
Oh, for those of you playing Gaming Outsider Bingo at home, yes, you did just get the space for Scott mentioning Killer Queen Black.
I haven't mentioned Killer Queen Black in several weeks. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty sure we made fun of you about your love of Killer Queen Black the week you were gone.
We did.
Yeah.
Or more specifically, CB and Zack did.
Well, yeah. That's fair. Alyssa's nice, but... actually, CB made fun of you. I thank you for showing me the game. Thank you.
There you go. I do want to give just our condolences. I don't know this person personally, obviously, but is it Christiane Luis, voice actress in Brazil, who voiced Mercy in Overwatch, Cortana in Halo, and even was Marge in the Simpsons television show in the Brazilian version of that. Was 49 years old at the time of her death. She was slashed in the neck and legs. The suspect is in custody. I'm not going to say the suspect's name because I just don't like to do that. But the suspect's mother is still at large. What an awful story. I didn't even know she passed until today when they got the guy in custody, and just horrific. Just horrific.
Yeah. That's terrible.
But don't want to dwell on too much, but our condolences go to the family of Ms. Louise. So let's go ahead and move on, though. Just want to remind everybody before we move on that we are an independently funded podcast, which means we do pay for our podcast hosting services, website, everything all on our own. Actually, not on our own. We get some help from some of our listeners who are gracious enough to donate to our Patreon each month to help pay for the expenses of doing this podcast. And we like to give back a little bit with some bonus episodes that are available only to people who contribute to our Patreon. Most recently, we did an episode on Zack's first video game he ever remembers playing. It was a NASCAR game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. You want to check out that episode. It was actually a really good conversation. We also sat down with Grant Henry, who does all the music for this podcast and is also responsible for Metroid Metal and the band Stemmage. We just talked with him for about an hour about music. It was a really good conversation. But this coming month, we still have 2 more episodes coming in. One of them is going to be a Break the Seal on Pokemon Fire Red, which I am playing currently. And I think I mentioned last week, I am seeing the appeal of this game. I would have eaten this up when I was a kid, for sure. But we'll get into more depth on that in the future. But if you'd like to listen to those episodes or any of our past catalog, you can literally listen to any past episode by going to patreon.com/thegocast and sign up. The $3 level will give you 1 bonus episode, and the $5 level will give you 2 bonus episodes. And it helps us pay for the show, and it also allows us to do some video game giveaways each month. Let's go ahead now and jump into the new games we've been playing. Zach, you mentioned at the top of the show that it's things are starting to get busy this week. What's coming out this week?
Right, as is tradition, it's Madden release week, which also kicks off the fall video game season.
Mm-hmm.
But the week begins with 2D indie platformer Greek Memories of Azure coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on August 17th.
It was also reviewed by Jacob from our writing team.
There we go. Humankind comes to PC August 17th. Very much looks like a Civilization-inspired game.
Mm-hmm.
Avengers gets its first major expansion with War for Wakanda coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia August 17th. That is, of course, you will be playing as T'Challa, the Black Panther. It looks pretty good, and actually looks more like of the campaign, which was the good part of Avengers. So if you own it, dip in. It's a free expansion. You know, play the 6-8 hours of a Wakanda video game for the first time ever, and then get out. And run away.
Sold.
From all
I'm just going to
money.
jump right in. I haven't played Avengers yet. I'm going to just jump in and just go straight to that.
It would probably be the best part.
Yeah. We'll see.
Tetris Effect Connected finally comes off of Xbox and onto PS4 August 18th. Rogue Explorer comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch August 18th. Indie Puzzler Recompile, which looks like a little bit like a 3D platformer, but I'm not convinced because they're so rare. Coming to PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC August 19th. Uoni is a first-person horror game coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC August 19th. Rims Racing is a motorcycle racing game coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC August 19th. The Veil, Shadow of the Crown, is a game that you're supposed to play with your eyes closed. It is developed for sound-driven gameplay. That's coming to Xbox One and PC August 19th. I know Scott's excited about that one.
Mm-hmm.
The showstopper, I would argue, of the week, 12 Minutes. Coming to Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC August 19th. That'll also be on Game Pass, so there's no reason not to play this one. Arietta of Spirits comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC August 20th. Madden NFL 22 having two cover athletes of Mahomes and Tom Brady, which is interesting. Coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, and Xbox One, as well as PC August 20th. So you can either play as the GOAT quarterback or that young kid who can't beat a 40-year-old man. And then Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island comes to PS5 and PS4 on August 20th. You also have the option to buy the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, if you would, on that day as well. Lots of games, as I said.
Speaking of Ghost of Tsushima, did you see that, like, the original base game, just disappeared from the PlayStation Network this week?
I didn't know that.
I assumed to be replaced by the Director's Cut?
Correct. Which
Yeah.
I think is kind of messed up. Like,
Little slimy?
yeah, a
Yeah.
little slimy.
Well, gee, PlayStation pulling a negative press move recently? I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
Next, you'll tell me they wanted to charge $10 just to upgrade their games. What's
They
jumping out at you guys this week? Scott, anything? I assume 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes. I mean, the cast alone is great, but when do we often get a game based on that subject matter? If you're not familiar with 12 minutes, it's divorced the video game, which looks to be done in a not tongue-in-cheek way like It Takes Two was, which, man, I want to play that game again. Zach, can we just do that again, like in Switch characters?
Sure. Yeah.
It was just like a delight to play that game.
What?
But yeah, like you said, the Veil Shadow of the Crown really intrigues me just because it's something different. I can't remember, I don't think of playing a video game and closing my eyes for the entire thing. It also makes me want to have a really good pair of headphones because I assume that would be a difference.
Yeah, I mean, on the trailer, description on YouTube or whatever, it's like headphones are required for this game.
Right.
Yeah, they're not beating around the bush. What about you, Alyssa?
12 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hyped for it since I first heard about it. And the cast, I mean, I love Daisy Ridley, especially.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was all in on this game before the cast, but once Willem Dafoe popped up on the screen, I was.
He's a great
gung-ho.
actor. He's the narrator, right?
I think he's a bad guy because
Or he's the bad guy.
it's about a husband and wife, and then like the guy who murders them, right? And they're trapped in the time loop. So I'm pretty sure Willem Dafoe is a villain because that's what he does.
I always have this joke. I'm always like, do you know why Willem Dafoe is always the villain?
Why?
Because he's Dafoe.
Oh, brother.
That's like a Scott joke, I know.
That's...
I've said that for so many years.
I can't ever hear Willem Dafoe's name without thinking of the How I Met Your Mother bit where they talk about it. Did you ever notice that his name sounds like a bullfrog and then a parrot or something, or a crow? Like Willem Dafoe.
What a weird joke.
It plays better in the show, but it was so whenever I hear his name, it's like Willem Dafoe.
Great actor.
Anyway.
His Green Goblin will never be topped.
It was really good. I know it was a little cheesy, but it just worked for that movie so well.
Right. Well,
especially
it's
like
supposed to...
when he would like talk to the mirror.
Oh
like,
yeah, man! He just snapped on a dime.
Yeah, I love that. That first movie was so good.
If these rumors are true that he's coming back from the next Spider-Man, my head's
They
gonna
will
explode.
not confirm nor deny that like the original Spider-Man will be in this movie either.
No,
like,
but did you hear somebody ask Willem Dafoe in an interview if he's going to be in it? And he's like, "Oh, that would be a lot of fun, but I only talk about projects I'm involved in when they're near release date," which sounds a lot like saying that you're in the movie without saying you're in the movie.
Yeah, a little bit. If that's the wording he said.
Yeah.
But Alyssa,
Anyhow.
you've been playing a game called Bustafellows, and I remember when this trailer dropped, it's like, this is an Alyssa game. But your review made it sound like you had some issues with it. It wasn't a complete glowing review from you. Well, first off, tell us what the game is, and then what you liked and didn't like about it.
Okay, so the game is kind of complicated to describe just verbally, but you play as a woman named Tuta. I think that's how you pronounce it. You can change the name, though, and what's cool about that is you can change the name using either English or hiragana, which I wish I was more fluent in Japanese, so I could have chosen hiragana. I didn't. But you are Tuta. She's a reporter, but she can travel back in time to stop things from happening, and she meets this high-powered lawyer named Limbo, and she sees him just be murdered. So she travels back in time, possesses one of his client's bodies, and tells him, "Hey, don't go to this place at this time, you'll be dead." He doesn't believe his client. He's like, "What happened to you?" But he doesn't go to the place, he survives. She has to go and tell him that was her. Doesn't believe her, but he kind of kidnaps her anyway.
Wow.
Doesn't really kidnap her. And she joins the group of fixers that he has, and they go around and they try to solve crimes. And of course, she jumps back in time to stop things. I know the game specifically asks you not to mention anything past the first chapter. Even as soon as you start up the game, it just says, "Do not mention anything past the first chapter."
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen a game do that. Like, don't spoil our game.
Yeah, it says that as soon as you start it up every single time. I'm like, oh, I will not spoil the game past the first chapter.
Okay.
Have you played a game on PS2 called Shadow of Destiny?
I have not.
Okay. Well, this means nothing then. It reminds me of that, which is a time traveling game where the character's trying to solve his own death by going back in time.
That sounds cool.
It's rad. It is the kind of game that would have only ever been made on PS2 when everything was so experimental and cheap. Highly recommended to anybody listening.
Okay.
You want to dig out Shadow of Destiny on PS2. They all support it to PSP if you have an even more obscure console.
There you go. What's the gameplay like in Bustafellows, though, Alyssa?
It is just a straight up visual novel. You occasionally have choices that you can choose from. Those only really impact who you romance. And it's very hard to know who you're choosing to romance unless you're clued into the little subtle signs, which I had to figure out by myself after I'd already started romancing a character.
All right,
luckily,
total,
it was the character I would have romanced.
This is a total otome game, yes?
It is. It's an otome.
Can you explain to me what that is? Because I didn't know what that word was when you said that in your review.
It's typically a game that is aimed towards females, where they get to choose from a group of men to romance.
Like The Bachelor?
Kind of.
Yes, Scott, exactly like The Bachelor.
But Japanese.
Right. So instead of a rose, it's a cherry blossom branch.
Here you go. Cherry blossom branch.
I feel like you're making fun of me, but I can't tell for certain.
I'm not.
No, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just going with the Bachelor bit.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was making The Bachelor Japanese.
All right. So did you like it?
I had a lot of fun playing it. It does have a few issues. I think they could probably be patched if the developer wanted to patch them. I don't know if they do. But I think I would have rated it higher if it didn't have a few of those small issues that do kind of detract from the game, or the story, technically. But I really did enjoy the story. It was really interesting. It felt unique and fresh and charming. It does have some triggering moments, so I do recommend kind of looking online to see what those triggers could be before you play it.
Does the game warn you of the triggers?
It does not.
Okay.
So
Nobody's talking about that online.
This boyfriend dungeon.
So I just caution you to check the triggers online. I don't know if anyone's posted them, but hopefully they have. I don't want to say what they
I'm
are.
going to ask you about it when we're done recording, because I'm curious now. So, Bustafellows, you recommend it for our fans of visual novels?
If you're a fan of visual novels, yes. If you're not a fan, you're not going to like it.
Okay. Sounds good. Again,
Is it? I'm sorry. Last question. Is it voiced in English or is it all read?
It is fully voice acted, but only in Japanese.
Okay. Thank you.
Gotcha.
I will not be playing it.
You don't like it when games are subbed in English?
Okay. Because I know it makes you like a fake. It makes you like a fake weeb, but I can't tell the emotionality of Japanese words because I don't speak it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it always drives me nuts when people say the Japanese voice acting is better, because I'm like, I don't think you know that, because you can't pick up on the inflections because you don't know the language.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, and there's something that's wrong with my brain where if someone's speaking in a different language while I'm reading, my brain has a hard time. It's like trying to pay attention to both at the same time, but the math doesn't add up in my head. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So
yeah.
it's just difficult for my brain to do that. So I would rather it not be voiced at all, which I guess I could just turn on the voice slider to alleviate that.
Yeah, you could just mute it and just read it.
Yeah. That's a Zack problem, though.
I tend to always do the Japanese voices as well, mostly because I listen to people like that say this is the cooler way to do it, but partially because I just think the Japanese language sounds cool, even though I don't understand the voice inflections.
Well,
that's why I'm learning it, because it's so cool.
I do want to learn it. The 13 Sentinels English cast is stacked, though. So
is it? Anybody I would know?
It has both 2B and 9S.
Oh.
So Kira Buckland, I don't know who voices 9S.
Kyle McCarley. It also has Zack Aguilar, who is world famous right now for being the lead of Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer. I love Demon Slayer.
I am checking out the manga from the library. I'll report back.
Nice. Moving on.
Yeah, let's get off this Japanese nonsense.
For a little bit. Scott, you've been playing Space Scavenger, which from the little bit I've seen, looks very interesting. Can you tell us what it's just kind of like what it's about?
Sure, I've actually been talking to the developer of this game. He goes by the name of Jonas. I've been talking to him on Twitter. I actually reached out to him to see if I could check out his game. He's super nice. But this is a very interesting game. It's a very small developer. I think it's Red Cabin Studios. And this game on the surface is a twin-stick shooter roguelike, which anything roguelike appeals to me. You guys know that, like, right? But I found this one to be very interesting in its design because as you go through each level, you have a little pea shooter at the beginning, and you can shoot in any direction, and then you start uncovering these different weapons, and then you attach them to your ship to make your ship have more thrusters or bigger guns or different types of guns, or little docks that allow you to hold more and different weapons. And I haven't gotten very, very deep into it. I obviously haven't finished it. But what jumps out to me right away is just how unique this game is in its structure. Anytime you come across a new weapon or ability, the game pauses. So like all the action stops, and then you have this little menu that pops up where you can grab the item, attach it to your ship, and you've got like 4 sections of your ship: top, bottom, left, or right. But what's interesting is like you can't just attach things willy-nilly, because I found out the first weapon, I just attached it wherever, and if you attach it to the wrong part of your craft, your weapon is going to aim in a different direction than your stick is pointing, if that makes sense. So like you have to learn, and the game doesn't like teach it to you. I don't mean that in a negative way, like there's no tutorial. The game teaches you the basic mechanics very well, but it's almost like this experimental factor where you have to figure out the right way to construct your ship so that it functions correctly. And then it becomes a game of like, which ones am I going to leave behind? Which ones am I going to, do I want to use? How am I going to attach it so that the gun is pointing in the right direction and the thrusters are pointing in the right direction so that I can actually make something happen? And the fun comes... Go ahead.
Could you use that to your advantage, though? Like build it incorrectly so you can make sure you have covering fire behind you?
Exactly. That's like the fun part of it. It's totally modular that way, so that like you can have multiple guns and you can have things going in multiple directions. There's even like some melee weapons, like you get this giant like lightsaber kind of thing that you can like swing on one end of your ship. It's very quirky. It's not like super serious. It's I'm not going to say cartoony, but it's just very light and fun. It's not like a hardcore, difficult roguelike, at least as far as I've gotten. And it's just so much fun and satisfying putting together a ship in a way that works for your play style. Like you said, Zach, maybe you want to like have it going in an opposite direction, to cover. You just basically make like a spin wheel of death, so to speak, and it's really great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to playing through it, and I'm going to be doing a written review for it sometime next week. But look for it on Switch. It is called Space Scavenger. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Great.
Moving on.
Yeah, well, back to Alyssa, who's just playing games nonstop.
Yeah.
You're playing Necrobarista Final Pour, which is a game about a barista, and it looks like a bunch of dead characters, and is hell involved, maybe? It looked very up my alley.
I mean, you are a barista.
Correct. And I love the macabre. The darker, the better, really.
Okay, okay.
Sorry. Are you making lattes? Are you making cappuccinos for vampires? What's going on here?
Okay, so I love games like Valhalla and Coffee Talk, right? So that's why I was interested in this game.
Dude, shout out to Coffee Talk.
Loved that game.
Yeah.
But I'm about halfway through this game currently, and it's purely linear. You're not making drinks for anyone, which kind of made me a little sad, but the story is really interesting. You are the owner of a cafe where the living and the dead can come, but the dead can only stay for 24 hours, or as they call it, your cafe starts getting debts from the fungible hours of the deceased. So, your cafe is in massive debt. It's set in Australia, and I don't know if you've heard of Ned Kelly.
I have not, no.
It's not really covered over here in America, but anyone in Australia will know about Ned Kelly. He is a character in this game, and he is kind of the one that's after you about your debt. And it's just purely about this new guy that comes in that's just recently dead. You and your coworkers and Ned Kelly are just conversing. But between chapters, you are able to explore the cafe, and you can experience different side stories, which are really interesting.
Are you exploring it like the bar segments from Catherine? Where you're walking around the cafe, or are you just kind of clicking a direction? Or?
No, you can walk around the entire cafe, and then at certain points, you'll get this lettering appear, and you have certain words that appear, and you select the word, and that shows a story. So you can have a lot of stories to go through between chapters. If you so choose, you don't have to even interact with these things, by the way. But it's really cool. I do wish you could make drinks, but I can understand why they chose not to make that option.
So what's the core gameplay?
There's not a ton of gameplay. It's mostly just a visual novel.
Okay.
You're just reading. Besides the break between chapters. And there is a doodle mode where you can doodle on these... They should be inanimate objects, but they're living now, like a milk jug, cardboard box. You can just draw a face on them. That's cool.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's cool, weird touch, yeah.
I love the look on Zach's. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. It's very
I will
Norm
never
Macdonald
show
of you.
anyone the faces I drew because they look like a kindergartner drew them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
it's charming.
You're drawing them on a Switch. Like, yeah, how great
it's
could
difficult. I mean, you have to use the joystick, and that's it. You just make a face with the joystick.
I'm confused by this concept of like you owe money because the dead visit your cafe. I don't understand what like.
It's
why...
not really money that you owe. You either owe your soul or the cafe, and that's all I know so far since I'm only halfway through.
Okay.
But Ned Kelly...
It costs you something to have patrons.
If they go past 24 hours, because they're supposed to move on to the next plane of existence after 24 hours, but if you let them stay longer, that you accrue debt in hours.
I'm just intrigued by the fact that it's the coffee shop's responsibility to keep these spirits on their schedule.
You're like a wayfarer. You're like are you like Charon? You know, you're supposed to ferry the souls, but if they don't get to moving, it's on you because it's your responsibility.
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Maybe I'll figure that out when I finish the second half of the game.
Okay.
But so far, it's just led up to that.
So you digging it?
So far, yeah, it's really charming and it's unusual. I wasn't expecting what I got with the game, but I'm digging it. So once I finish
again,
it,
visual novel again, right?
it is a visual novel besides the parts between the chapters where you can just doodle on objects, make faces on objects, and interact with side stories.
I mean, is there other achievements for drawing? I just don't understand what this.
I'm playing it on
features
Switch,
were.
so
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know on any other platform if I think it's just exclusive to Switch actually. So yeah, there's no achievements. You just do it for the fun of it.
Necrobarista Final Pour, again, on Nintendo Switch. If you like visual novels, it sounds like it is a solid one to check out. All right, moving on. I want to remind everybody once again that we have our Facebook page that you can check out, facebook.com/groups/thegocast. We have a new member over there by the name of Lauren Abel. Welcome to the community. We've also got our Discord channel, our server, which is available, and you can find the link for that in the show notes for this very episode. And we also do ask that you guys drop us a review once in a while, if you wouldn't mind, either on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app that you use to listen to this show. And in fact, we have a new review from iTunes this week. This one comes from someone by the name of Roserman, and they titled their review Gaming Podcast Gold. And they say, I found this podcast a couple years ago and have been hooked ever since. Scott, Zack, CB, and the newly added Alyssa all blend together nicely to give their takes on games and gaming news, both new and old. Listening to this crew chat about games gives me a certain comfort and makes me feel at home. It's been great for my mental health as well, helping me calm down and deal with the stress of the crazy world we live in. So I'm happy to finally pay it forward with the review. Thanks, and keep up the excellent work. Thanks so much, Roserman. Really appreciate that kind review.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roserman.
At the risk of sounding actually sincere, thank you. That's very nice.
That can't be sincere.
Not in a public forum.
You can. It's okay, man. It's okay to be sincere.
I feel vulnerable. Let's move on. I'm getting scared.
Also, our website, thegamingoutsider.com, where you'll find links for all of our episodes, as well as our written content for games that we talk about here on the show. My review of Arksmith is posted, as well as my review of Lawn Mowing Simulator. So much fun. Sean's review of Skydrift Infinity, CB's review of Song of Horror, Rel's review of Fallen Knight, and I believe Alyssa's review of Bustafellows is also up there. We actually posted a review for Don't Forget Me, which was an adventure game that Thomas reviewed for us. And then lastly, Urban Tricky, help me out here, guys. Urban Tricky Trial.
Urban Trial Tricky Deluxe Edition, I believe.
Deluxe Edition,
Yeah.
which
What a title.
which Josh Ershman reviewed for us. So be sure to check out the website and let us know what you think of those reviews. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. This week I want to talk about games that grabbed our attention within the first few minutes of starting them, whether it be a gameplay hook, a captivating story, or something that immediately shows you the scope of what you're about to experience. Selling your audience early on really does go a long way. So I want to ask the two of you, what stands out to you most when starting a game for the first time? What's really going to grab your attention? Is it going to be something narrative? Is it going to be just the visuals? Maybe a clever mechanic? What makes you go, oh, okay, I'm paying attention? Let's start with Alyssa.
Usually for me, it's narrative related because I'm a huge fan of stories, and if you have a really good story, you just hook me right away, I'm going to love your game.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it could be just this amazing intro, the cutscene just setting up the story. It could be just meeting some cool characters. I mean, yeah, the visuals do help sometimes, but that doesn't always necessitate a game that I'm going to enjoy just purely off the way it looks.
Sure. I get that. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does come down to narrative as well. There's like something about how a game establishes its atmosphere or setting in the opening that's really like what draws me in the most. I think Ocarina of Time is a great example, or Shadow of the Colossus really like lets you know how melancholic an experience you're about to experience, go through.
Right.
It's like, I think it's something about setting the tone that does it for me. Or even Xenogears from 1990, whatever, 97, I think. It does a great job of setting this like weird world, like a spaceship crashes, but this woman survives, but she's stark butt naked. You're like, what's going on here? Did she blow up the ship or whatever? But then you like cut to this, this small village where like the town's getting ready for a wedding, and it just lets you like, I don't know, it traps you in the small village, but you're constantly thinking about this like big otherworldly thing happening outside, and it just really sucks you right in right away.
So there's the intrigue of like what the hell is going on is what draws you in.
Yeah, well, and it's something about telling me what kind of tone I'm about to get into, I guess.
I can get that. I think for me, I mean, it's hard to nail it down to just to one thing, because I agree with everything that both of you said. I think sometimes doing something that feels familiar yet feels different at the same time. Prime example, Dead Space. I know we talk about that game a lot. Mark your bingo cards. But like I've seen all the Alien movies, right? And that's kind of what you expect. Oh, we're going to go explore this derelict space station and find out what happened to the crew, and bad stuff's going to happen probably. You know what I mean? That's we've seen that before. But Dead Space did something a little bit unique with it, with the gameplay mechanic itself of like, cutting off the limbs. And Isaac's suit was just so freaking cool. The fact that you didn't have a HUD, everything was just right on his suit was just like so brand new. I'd like to say the intellectual answer that story is what's most important for me. I'm not as smart as Zack, so I like the pretty lights. Seriously, something like where I see something, it just strikingly beautiful. I mean, we're not really to the point where characters look real yet, but some of the vistas, especially like in, I mean, I'm not a big Forza guy, but I don't know if you've seen the trailers for the new Forza game. It looks like you're looking at a landscape, like a legit landscape instead of a digital landscape. So when I see something like that just really that really makes me think that I'm looking at something real, that's going to get me going. But also, like Zach said, the story aspect of it, the intrigue, like something that's going to keep pushing you forward just because you want to understand what just happened that you just witnessed. You need some kind of explanation. So
I would like to interject and say you're plenty smart, Scott.
Well,
you
thanks,
are very
Zach.
smart.
Just as smart as me. The pretty lights, the technical fidelity, I don't ever really care about, but I do like a good art style.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything about that. Most of what I'm excited for Shin Megami Tensei 5 is how everything looks. Like it's
That's
just
true.
a very unique look.
And that was a lot of what drew me to Persona 5. At least it started. I didn't get very far.
Those menus alone.
Yeah. It just looks interesting. It looks different than any other game I've ever played, and that's a good draw. Have you guys ever played a game that started out strong, like something like really grabbed you, and then you just wound up being disappointed by the end, Zach?
Well, Arkham Knight comes pretty immediately to mind.
Oh, I liked Arkham Knight.
Because it started very strong with the Arkham Knight mystery and things, and Scarecrow being a huge menace, and oh my, a Batman story where Joker's not in it? What?
Mm-hmm.
But it really ended that franchise on a whimper. In my opinion.
I wanted a whole game of just the Bat Tank.
The gameplay is fine.
Yeah.
It's the story that is laughable.
Well, because they lied to us, right? They
did. They directly lied in quotes, absolutely. And they told a already adapted to death storyline worse than its original story. And also the weird stuff where Joker's blood poisons people and turns them into Jokers. That was really dumb. Pretty dumb game. You could tell, because I don't know if you remember this, but the writer of Arkham Asylum and City and the comics and everything was not invited back for Arkham Knight. And you can tell.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm sorry you didn't like a Batman game, man. I know you love Batman.
I still like it. It's just, it's not the masterpiece the rest of the series is. But honestly, I feel like if a game starts strong and then it like whimpers out and I don't like it, I'm probably not going to remember it.
That's a really good point. I guess it was kind of an unfair question.
Yeah.
What about you, Alyssa? Any games that started out strong that disappointed you in the end?
Like Zach said, I honestly can't think of any, so if I did play any, they've just been wiped from my memory.
All right.
I can't think of one.
You know what? I think this is a good example, but Grand Theft Auto San Andreas comes to mind because you were just talking about it. But even like it just starts strong because you're dropped in the hood and you're fighting for your life, but then it's just like 8 to 10 hours of this really good gangster story where you're doing like a lot of small things, like just go through the drive-thru with your buddies, right, as a mission, like a lot of like almost slice of life stuff. But then you get to the second island, and it gets a little bit wackier and like turns into a comedy. You get to like a third island, you got a jetpack, and your brother's been abducted by this secret military government, and you fight it. And there's aliens, and you're like, what the hell is happening to this game?
I need to play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, apparently.
Man, it goes some places. And then, and then like in the last 3 hours, it goes back to being like a hood thriller. It's like really weird.
And like nobody ever mentions the aliens or the...
Yeah, it's like goes back to like, oh man, you betrayed my pops back in the day. Like, dude, you were just flying a jetpack up a mountain 2 days ago. Your life has moved beyond this.
Yeah, I feel like you had a little bit more things to talk about.
You own a very successful casino for a while. It's very, very bizarre game.
He follows the Dominic Toretto lifestyle.
Yes, that's exactly right. It is 9 Fast and the Furious movies in one game.
Oh, wow.
Levels of absurdity.
You've made the sale. Stop selling it, man. For me, I struggled with this question too, but the one that I've talked about in the past, I don't want to beat it like a dead horse too much, but Journey. Started out, I was like, this is just a gorgeous game. I just love this. I love that I'm interacting with a stranger. And that was all the game was. The rest of it was like, go touch this beam of light, and that's it. I felt really disappointed by that. But let's talk about the good ones. Which games stand out to you as ones that reeled you in from the get-go? Like, just as soon as things started going, which ones made you sit up and go, okay, I'm in? Alyssa, let's start with you.
The first one that comes to mind for me is Mass Effect 2. Just the opening, which I played Mass Effect 2 before I played Mass Effect 1. Back on the 360, so I kind of went backwards. But I was just hooked from the first second of Mass Effect 2. I was just like, what's going on with this Commander Shepard character? And then it just kept unfolding, and I loved it, and it's my favorite game of all time now. But it just drew me into the universe. It's
an exercise in how to do an intro.
It was fantastic.
It might be the ballsiest intro because it breaks the cardinal rule of video games 20 minutes in, which, I don't want to spoil it because the Legendary Edition just came out.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it either.
Man, Yeah, you're right. That's a tremendous intro.
All right. Any from the listeners you wanted to share as well?
I do have a couple. The first list is from Sean Iams Fuller off of Facebook.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
He sucks.
Of course you'd pick this comment, Alyssa.
Well, it was on there.
Well, he also agrees with her, to be fair, on one of them.
That's true. That's true. I think he's just
We
trying
do
to
have
score brownie
disagreements
points.
on some things, but this list, though, he says, no explanation needed. The Last of Us, BioShock, Mass Effect 2, and the Tomb Raider reboot.
Tomb Raider was a great one.
Yeah.
I loved all of those.
Oh, dude, a BioShock, is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow.
Yeah, you probably didn't see it on Facebook, obviously, Zach, but like I actually had a video, not a video, but like a GIF of the intro to BioShock when I posted this question.
I just occasionally quote that monologue like at work and stuff. It's just so good.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic intro also to that game.
Well, and then when the speech, like, it times perfectly when with the bathysphere shows you Rapture. So yeah,
it's just pretty... like you like crest that like cliff or whatever, and then you just see this underwater city. Oh, like goosebumps the first time that happened.
Yeah, goosebumps every time, and it's so good. I don't think I would have thought of this without Sean, because when I think of the intro, I almost just think of that monologue. Mm-hmm. But that's a real good pull.
And the music was so good too. Like they just timed perfectly, and it felt distinctly BioShock, even though it's just like old timey music or whatever. But it just felt like it belonged.
Man, I gotta play BioShock again.
I know.
Also, Last of Us. I mean, that opening was very, very strong. Seeing Joel and how he goes on his journey, why he does what he does.
Yeah,
it didn't hit me like it hit other people personally, but I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You guys are looking at me like I'm heartless.
No.
I didn't know the character enough to care about what happened to them.
I feel like you don't need to know a character well enough to be disturbed by what happened to him.
Like, it was sad, but it wasn't like I wasn't thinking about it 2 hours later in the game or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but I think what happened was important for his relationship with Ellie.
I won't deny that. I'm just saying it didn't. I'm glad it hit other people.
I think that it was from a cinematic standpoint, like that scene happens and then just fade to black and the Last of Us logo.
It's not even a fade, right? It's a snap to black. That's
right.
Yeah.
That is very good. And when then the music kicks in, yeah, that's all very good stuff.
It was just like, that's how you start a game. Like, okay. I'm along for the ride at this point. And
I wouldn't argue that it's bad. I'm sad it didn't affect me the way it affects seemingly everybody else.
Okay. Alyssa, you got another comment you want to read?
I do, from Kevin Honingford. And he says, 2 different takes on this. The one that showed me what kind of exciting experience I was in for that got me jazzed easily is World of Warcraft. Now that I think of it, the first 2 expansion cinematics were just as exciting as well. But my favorite intro to any game ever is the opening to NHL 97, that metal music and the forging of the goalie mask, the emblem smashing through the ice after highlights of players smashing players. That was how you make an intro to a sports game. Seriously, if you've never experienced it, go look it up.
That's awesome.
I have to look it up.
I know, I've never played an NHL 97.
I haven't either.
The only hockey game I ever got into was Blades of Steel on the NES, which is a console that Alyssa's never played. But
that's true.
Nor would she have played NHL in 97, because I guess that probably would have been PS1, actually.
That might have been PS1, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was never a sports person.
Yeah. I don't think... Yeah, this is not the sports crowd here, don't worry.
You'd be surprised. We have a lot of sports fans.
I meant on this mic, these mics.
Oh, on the between.
Yeah.
I have a Packers podcast.
I was going to say, Scott is.
I never hear him talk about it. Well, you're not like a Madden guy, right? You're not like a sports video game guy.
No. But every time I go to an arcade, I have to play Blitz. Like, I have to.
Yeah.
Blitz is so good.
Barely a football game.
So much fun.
Hell yeah, it is.
When I was in Portland, Mike and I played it, and you would think that we were back in '99. You know, like we were like hooting and hollering at every touchdown, and like just acting like a couple of idiots. That's just so much fun. So good.
Absolutely.
Anywho, Zach, you are up.
I'll jump right in with a comment here from Ferris, who says, Xenoblade Chronicles, watching 2 entire worlds sword fight. This is how epic begins. I was hooked. Red Dead Redemption had me at the beginning too. The train ride, just a very real feeling. I knew the gaming landscape had changed forever at that point. Was similar with Skyrim as well, and yeah, Bioshock. Let's just start you with a plane crash, only to send you into the city of Atlantis. The intros of Final Fantasy XI Online, Final Fantasy XII. Square Enix has started a couple games in high fashion, and then, of course, Resident Evil. Being chased into the mansion by the dogs. Yeah, why don't you get my heart racing before I even pick up the controller? While there are quite a few here, Fierce, Xenoblade Chronicles is... it does hook you right from the start, because you see those two, like, gods sword fighting, and then they kill each other at the same time, and then the game takes place on their corpses.
That's awesome. I think I remember you talking about that in the past.
That's such a cool hook for a world. And like one of them is very organic and the other one's very mechanical. Like it's just an amazing setting for a game. And you don't want to let up. And then I'll also back up Red Dead Redemption, a bit of a slower intro, but I appreciate a good slow intro that just kind of settles you into the world. And it's just John Marston quietly riding that train, overhearing all these horrific conversations of people of the time speaking prejudiciously, very openly and whatnot. It just really sets the tone of, that this isn't the rock star that made Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Like it's letting you know, taking it a bit more seriously.
So do you implore us to go watch that intro?
Do I implores ye? I implores you. It's pretty great. Yeah, then John gets shot. What a good time.
Spoilers.
What? Not dead. I mean, he just goes, and then a cute farm girl patches him back up, and then
I'm just teasing you.
He fixes up things on a ranch.
Absolutely, he flirts a little with the ranch hand, and she eventually's like, "Call me Bonnie, you fool," and he says, "Now, Miss McFarlane, I'm married," and then you're like, "Man, I wish you guys would just kiss anyway." Good times.
I know. I felt the same way when I played the game.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't know your wife, John.
So if we don't know about it, it's okay.
Yeah. Different zip codes, right? Isn't that the rule?
It's like if you have... Oh, man, I was just going to make a road trip reference that you probably neither of you understand, but
I've seen Road Trip, thank you. That's where I got the zip code thing. Isn't that the joke of that? Yeah.
You're right. I was going to say a quote from the same... It's like when you let your dog... Okay, never mind.
I don't think you can say it on this podcast. I don't think you could say any other quote from Road Trip on this podcast.
No, but that movie is so great.
Yeah, it is. It's probably very of its time, but yeah, it is great.
I've seen that movie an embarrassingly high number of times.
I've seen Euro Trip probably an embarrassing number high.
I love Euro Trip, and not just for the obvious reasons.
Not just because you're referenced.
Yeah, Scotty doesn't know.
You have to hear that.
Oh, that song! That song's in that movie.
That's where it was introduced.
Okay, I've never seen the movie, but my friends and I were obsessed with the song in high school.
Oh,
you need to go watch the movie and see who the lead singer of the band is. I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Well, I know the name of the song, so...
Watch the YouTube clip from the movie immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a cameo that I still, every time I see it, I'm like, how did they get this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
He's not the actual singer of the band. He just plays the lead singer of the band in the movie. At a high school party that they just have this band.
One of the great movie cameos ever.
It is a great cameo. Yeah. Which is funny because he had another cameo in another movie that was random and funny.
Yeah, this is better here. Anyway, video games. Paul Hine also said, anybody remember the first time they booted up Mass Effect 2? For someone who had a total media blackout, I had no idea what to expect. I was blown away. I should have forced Alyssa to take this comment.
Paul, we're buddies now.
Yeah.
You're my friend. You don't have any choice.
Wow.
I need to get back
you
to
do have a
Mass
choice.
Effect.
I'm not that mean.
I wish I had friends like that.
Hey, you were automatically my friend the moment we met.
Okay. Oh, wow.
You don't have a choice.
Again, this list I definitely don't have, man. You're right at the top. Matthew J. Machand? Or McCand. Anyway. Oh, I can answer this. Wild Arms 1 PS1. Something about the intro just grabbed me hard. That was back in 97, and I didn't have a lot of money. I bought a copy of it used and didn't get a PS1 for 6 months, but damn it, I had my copy of Wild Arms, played it, and loved it. That's a lot of enthusiasm for a JRPG series I don't think most people remember. But I plucked this comment just because it referenced Wild Arms. Those games were cool. As I recall, I can't speak to them in a modern sensibility, but it was a Wild West JRPG. Are you kidding me?
Box art was awesome. Always drew me in.
I never got to play it, but it always just sounded so cool.
There are not enough Western games.
There aren't.
No. Yeah, Well, I think the problem is Red Dead Redemption came out and was it kind of answered all the questions you needed.
Yeah, but it wasn't fun.
The first one?
Oh, the first one was fun.
I'm saying the first Red Dead Redemption came out and it was a punctuation mark at the end of the sentence on Western video games. Like, we're done. We nailed it.
I just want a remake of Gun. Do you remember? Did you play Gun?
Yeah, Tom Jane, man.
God, that game was so much fun.
Chris Christopherson was your dad.
Oh,
yeah, dude.
And everything just felt right about that game. I want to remake that game.
I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can have a white man join in with the natives anymore. I don't know if that's allowed.
I will say that's the first game I felt got controlling a horse correctly as well.
Yeah, no, that game, I played it a couple years ago. It doesn't hold up especially well, but it is still fun.
It was like arcadey. It was more arcadey.
Yes.
Yeah, with the shooting and stuff that just felt super fun to me.
Because it had like bullet time as well, and you could do you had like throwing knives, you had ridiculous over the top stealth kills.
Mm-hmm.
You could mine for gold for some reason.
Yeah. It was like I was obsessed with going around and finding all of those. I think that was one of the first games I got all the achievements for.
Yeah.
Because it was ported to Xbox 360, right?
Yes, it was very obviously a PS2 game ported to 360, but yes.
Yeah. So, Zach, what are yours then?
Well, for me, I think our very recent example we Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I thought had a very strong intro when you cause the apocalypse.
You and I are weirdly in a minority of people that like that game.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it until I don't agree with how it resolves Lara's character arc, because I think it lets her off the hook a little easily. But otherwise, it's a great game.
Yeah, I agree. I just did not understand the hatred for that. I mean, I know we were a little high on reviewing it, but still, I thought it was really good.
I'm pretty open about my Tomb Raider love.
Right.
It was just,
me too.
I mean, she does some pretty messed up stuff in that trilogy, and at the end, it's just like, I think I am a good guy after all. And like the sun's beaming down on her. I'm like, what? You just murdered a man begging for his life 3 hours ago. Anyway. But for me, my favorite game intro ever is probably Batman Arkham City. It just starts so strongly with these it intercuts Bruce Wayne being tortured, while it's like flashing back to the news setting up Arkham City. And then you find out, and then the villain knows your identity right away. There's no beating around the bush there. But then you break out of there, but you remember you have to get processed as a criminal as Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And you run into Deadshot, who's like, you're on my list, and threatening you. And then Penguin tries to jump you in an alley, but you beat up his thugs, and you have to climb to the nearest rooftop. And Alfred uses the bat plane to jettison a bat suit on top of a building.
I remember that, actually.
You have to change, and it does this cool little intro scene where you put on the bat suit, and he even puts his cowl over his face in real time, which was insane technology for that time. And then it's just this panoramic shot of Arkham City before landing on Batman's back, and then you just glide over Arkham City. Man, it just... I mean, it was it's obviously the memeiest of memes, but it really did make you feel like Batman in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were ready to be the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader.
Especially because you'd already played Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So the mechanics were already somewhat familiar.
Right, and you just... Yeah, then right after that, you glide over to Two-Face's courtroom, and you beat up all his thugs, and you feel awesome, and you're like, oh my god, they have Catwoman in this one? It's good. And that's all the first 30 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah. And then that's that's in your top 10.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is the best playing video game I've ever played. Just the gameplay, it just doesn't waste a single minute of gameplay in that campaign, man. It's so good.
I need to revisit it. I have that collection on Xbox.
It's exquisite. Chef's kiss.
Nice. Any others, or?
No, you can't top that.
Okay. All right. For me, I had a comment from Alan Sheck, who said Vader Immortal. I can't remember, Zach. Have you played Vader Immortal yet?
I have not yet, no.
Man.
I want to, I just don't have VR.
He says this was also the first thing he tried on Oculus Quest. Now that I've beaten the story and spent countless hours in VR, the game feels a little cheesy and leading, but man, the first time playing that jump to hyperspace, the Star Destroyer flying overhead, I thought to myself, theme parks just became obsolete. And I will say that that game starts very, very well.
They should put that on the back of the box. Theme parks just became obsolete.
That is a great box quote right there.
It is.
Dude, if this game came out in the 90s, that would be the magazine quote.
You're right.
Oh, I miss those magazines.
I love magazine ads, man. They're fun.
They were. I miss just like poring over magazines and like trying. This was before we had internet, when like you could had to keep up with Twitter updates and Facebook posts and everything, and it was like all you had was that.
You were the most mic droppiest of ads ever was when Chrono Trigger was getting ported to DS, and it was just a blank black screen that just said "Good morning, Chrono."
Right. I remember you talking about that.
That is,
fast.
I mean, that's to be so confident in your product and its place in history. They're just like, here's just the first line. You're gonna buy it, and everyone goes, "Yeah, I will."
Such a good game. I had another one. Well, first off, World Reaper says Uncharted 2. The opening that starts on a literal cliffhanger.
I love that game.
This is actually on my list because what a way to open a game. I mean, you don't even know why you are where you are. You're just hanging from a train off the edge of a cliff. I was just like, okay, all right,
let's
do
I'm
this thing.
I'm extremely attractive Nathan Drake hanging off this cliff.
Yeah, check me out. I do like when you revisit it later in the game and he's got a bunch of quips this time.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, they kind of Tarantino'd that a little bit. One other one from Sean Coates. I just wanted to throw this one out there as well. He said, I'm picking Super Mario 64. At that point, I had never seen 3D like that. First, when Mario's floating head. Remember that at the beginning of the game?
Yeah,
where
man.
Mess with his head and pull his ears and stuff. And then the intro where the camera is flying all around Peach's castle and Mario hops out of that pipe. Also can't forget the fact that you have an entire exterior courtyard to run around, explore, and get a feel for the controls before the game actually starts. Mind blown in 1996. And I thought that was a really good one because, yeah, we'd only seen Mario in 2D sprites up to that point. And now we just have like a place to explore. And like he said, that opening area, there's nothing to find, right? You can't find anything until like after 120 stars, you can find Yoshi at the top of the castle or whatever. But it was from a gameplay perspective, that was just jaw dropping. Like, okay, I can't wait to go in the castle and see what is going to happen.
Ocarina of Time accomplishes a similar thing.
Yeah, and they did it so well with the storytelling, man. Like you get to mess around in how do you pronounce it? Kokiri?
Yeah, always Kokiri, that's how I say it, yeah.
Kokiri. And like the world feels like it's like your own small little world.
Yeah.
But when you like discover later that it's just like a small corner of
when
the actual world.
When I played as a kid, I just assumed that was the game.
Right.
And you could spend hours there, really.
You could.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just... But it is also like, you have to learn the controls, right? You have to get enough rupees to get a shield and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn it. It's just very... Those Nintendo folks know how to make a game, you know?
They do. They're really masters of teaching you how to play a game without giving you a tutorial.
Yeah, you don't realize you've just learned how to play the game.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're just good at it.
Yep. Exactly.
Except for Skyward Sword.
Yeah. I'm still a little ashamed of myself. I have to finish that game at some point. I have to, right? What kind of Zelda fan am I?
At least YouTube the ending, I guess. All the stories in the last hour.
That's probably what I should just do. Because it's just basically like chase after the princess and she's not here and...
Yeah. The princess is in another castle.
So they made it a Mario game. For me, I also... on my list, I had Uncharted 2 on my list, but another one that stood out to me, and I don't know if you remember, but God of War 3, I thought had a really crazy, awesome intro.
Would have picked up the minute after God of War 2 ended.
That too, but the part that stuck out to me was you're climbing the back of this Titan or something like that, and the camera just spans out, and you see the size and scope of this thing that you're climbing on. it was just so. This game is going to be huge and epic. I'm not just playing a linear story like I was in the first one. I am, I'm in this for the long haul. I was just like so blown away at the scope of what the rest of the game is going to be because that camera pans back.
Yeah.
And this is PS3 era. And all of a sudden Kratos is now this tiny little speck on this massive thing that's like climbing up a wall or whatever. I just thought that intro was great.
Well, as a guy who said that you get blown away by the technical aspects of a game upon intro, like that game looks as good as any late gen PS3 game, and it came out the second year.
Right.
Like it's unbelievably impressive.
And I don't remember liking the game nearly as much as I liked 2, or even 1 for that matter, but it just looked really, really great. What an intro, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, guys. That was a lot of fun. That was a fun topic. And thank you to all of our listeners for writing in on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to be centering our topic next week on voice actors. We haven't, I don't think we've done that, at least in the way that I'm thinking in my head. So stay tuned for that on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord for the question of the week. I'm looking forward to doing that and maybe get some insight from some real voice actors as well about our answers. I think that'd be kind of fun. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zack, any parting words before we get out of here? Anything you want to share with everybody?
Absolutely. Now, I know I'm a DC shill. I won't lie. But Titan Season 3 just started on HBO Max, and it is excellent. It's
Nice.
It's truly great. It is an almost hilariously big step up from seasons 1 and 2, which, if you remember, Titans seasons 1 and 2 were exclusive to DC's very short-lived streaming service.
I remember.
This is season 3. It's very obvious HBO got involved. Some HBO producers knocked on the door. It's like, no, we're not doing this. It is a little, Gotham heavy. So if you're not into Batman, at least the beginning of the season is probably going to disappoint you. But speaking of, Red Hood, when we were talking about Arkham Knight earlier, this handles that better already. And it's just it has shed a little bit of its cast, which I'm sure will make some Teen Titans fans disappointed. But the show desperately needed it, like for some characters to be more of background players. It's just it's such an insane step up. It's hard to even describe, and it does things with Batman you absolutely would not expect. And I don't know if you know this, Scott, but Jorah Mormont of Game of Thrones is Batman in Titans.
Ian Glenn. Oh yeah,
Ian Glenn.
I watched Titans.
Oh, okay.
I just heard Jorah Mormont and I got excited, and then I'm like, wait, I saw Titans season 2.
Yeah,
I knew that.
But I don't blame you for not remembering. But season 3 is very much better. Yeah, Ian Glenn is Batman. He is not what you would expect, but he absolutely sells this version of Batman. And
so it's live action. This isn't animated.
No,
it's live action.
It's live action. A lot of F-bombs, not for kids, not for families. A lot of cursing and swearing and sexing. But it is it's excellent, man. It's really good. And season 3 is practically a soft reboot. Like, you could jump in season 3, episode 1, no problem.
Oh. All right.
I think they're aware that it's a bit of a different show with season 3. Highly recommended if you like superhero storytelling.
I can't just skip to season 3 though, man. You know me, I'll have to go back and watch 1 and 2.
You really could, but I know you won't.
I know. I just can't do it. I can't skip Mass Effect 1 to go to Mass Effect 2. I'm not going to do it for a HBO show.
Well, I recommend Titans.
All right. Alyssa, what about you?
I watched this really, in my opinion, amazing movie on Apple TV Plus. It's called Coda. It just came out Friday as of the time of this recording. But it is just so beautiful, and I cried several times just because of how beautiful it was. I wasn't sad. It was just so beautiful, but it's about this teenage girl who she is the only person in her family that can hear. Her mom, dad, and brother are all deaf, and CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adults. And she dreams of being a singer, but her family needs her to work at... They have this... I don't know what you'd call it. They gather fish and sell them.
Okay.
I don't know. What's the term for that?
Fishmonger, I guess?
I guess, yeah. And they need her to interpret for them because they can't speak. she can read sign language and interpret it, but she wants to be a singer and she wants to go to Berkeley. And it's just her journey of trying to live her dreams while also helping her family out. And just the entire cast is wonderful. And the mom and dad, the brother as well, are all actually deaf in real life as well. So that really adds a realistic touch. And they're just all so wonderful. And even though a lot of the film is signed, it just feels so natural just to see how they interact. And the girl that plays Ruby, Amelia Jones, has an amazing singing voice. Loved her singing.
Is this a show or is this a movie?
It's a movie.
Okay. I literally renewed my Apple TV subscription today.
What'd you do it for, I wonder?
You know what I did it for.
Ted Lasso, like everybody?
Yeah.
There's like a 60% increase in subscribers when season 2 popped. Like, that's insane. That show is popular.
It is phenomenal. But since you renewed it for Ted Lasso, I do recommend Coda. Anyone that did the same as Scott. Right. Coda is wonderful, and it is in select theaters, but it's very hard to find, at least for me. Apple TV Plus has it. You can stream it.
Yeah, I got Apple TV Plus, so I'll just watch it there. I'm fine.
I really want to watch Ted Lasso. I just can't bring myself to do another subscription.
We'll talk.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'll just follow the theme here with TVs and movies. I went to the theater and saw Jungle Cruise, which was
so much fun.
Shockingly charming movie.
It looks like. Is it like The Mummy, like those kind of movies, like the adventure?
Yeah.
It's like The Mummy meets Pirates of the Caribbean.
Dope. I'm in.
The Rock and Emily Blunt are just charming. The Rock tells dad jokes. Like, it's just...
He does.
It's okay.
I actually thought of Scott as soon as The Rock started telling dad jokes. I'm like, oh, Scott would love this.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And Jesse Plemons, like, is just born to be a villain and everything. He's so interesting to watch. And I don't know, just some of the stuff that they do is interesting in a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of way. Like, you're introduced to some of these, like, I don't even know if I call them villains. And I don't want to ruin it because seeing it happen is really cool. But Alyssa know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But you're introduced to these villains, and it's just so bizarre and weird and over the top. But then, like, you learn about their backstory later on, and it was just a refreshingly fun. And it's a family film. It's like shockingly clean. Like,
I didn't hear any curse words, or if I did, they were very mild.
Yeah. Really good. Like, this is what I'm going to watch with my students whenever we have a movie night.
They straight up don't make them like this anymore.
They don't.
No.
And it is great. It was just really, really good. It made me miss Brendan Fraser in the Mummy movies, and that I would kind of wish we could go back and just get that, because it was just so much fun. So, Jungle Cruise, highly recommend it. Anyway, everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. Zach and Alyssa, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I want to remind everybody again that this podcast, The Gaming Outsider, is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemagemusic.com, STEMAGE music.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Alyssa White, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.